Welcome to Jerseys for Social Justice, ETSU Athletics video series highlighting our black student athletes and coaches and their stories of being black in America. We're at the point of our series where we're doing some reflecting with those in leadership positions at ETSU Athletics that are white to talk about what they've heard and what they're doing to support those student athletes and coaches. Scott Carter is the one at the top of our athletic department as the athletic director. It gets no bigger in terms of leadership positions than him. He's here today with us. Scott, thanks for the time.
Happy to be here. Thank you, Mike.
Hearing and listening and seeing what you have over these last few months, not just from this video series, but around America, our region, our country, it's obviously been jarring for a lot of people. How have the last few months affected you?
Mike, it's been heavy. I mean, I think the burden that our country is carrying right now with so many different topics that are so crucial. The pandemic obviously is on the news every single night. The ramifications and ripple effects of that, from the daily wearing of masks to all the things we have to do to stay apart socially, which is very hard, particularly when you've got a family, both at home and here, obviously in an athletic department. The budget concerns that's created. You know, so many people across our country have had their lives turned upside down with job loss and economic challenges, and certainly in college athletics, you read the ticker on ESPN every day, and it's just another bombshell of expectations of shortfalls or no fans in the stands, or what will the seasons actually look like. But more than anything, the issue of racism and social injustice in our country, to me, is the top priority. And because it's so personal, it's, don't get me wrong, health and safety is certainly personal. But there's a personal aspect of this that we see every day. Roughly half of our student athletes happen to be black. Wonderful young men and women from all over the country that I have so enjoyed always understanding and learning of everyone's perspective. But these last few months have been very, very specific as it relates to their feelings, what it means for them to live through this time, but not just this time, their entire lives and their families' lives, and the perspective that they have of being black in our country, in our community, in our athletic program, and on their teams.
Being around you every day, I know this, but I'd like you to pull the curtain back just a bit for those that aren't in ETSU athletics every day. This is not the first conversation that you've had about this topic with someone at ETSU. There have been many conversations with coaches, with athletes. You're trying to manage this issue from a number of different angles. What have those been like?
Well, the first thing I would say is you can't manage it. You have to be in the moment and live it with people. And management is an important aspect of what we do in leadership, but this is an organic, family, heartfelt, soul-felt situation. And it can't be political. It can't be for any other purpose other than genuine, or else it's superficial and phony and fake. And you're right. There have been numerous conversations that we've had from a leadership level, administrators, coaches. Very excited right now. We've got student athletes being folded into that conversation now that everyone's back on campus with a start of an unusual semester, but the start of a semester nonetheless. And that's the most important component of this, is our student athletes. When this began, and I will say this, I wish it had began sooner. You know, there was obviously activity this summer that was tragic with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and so many others that have forced us into these conversations that, to be honest with you, are uncomfortable. And it's not that they're ever going to be comfortable, but the people that you have them with, the growth that we've had together through difficult conversations, through taking that first step, which is oftentimes the most challenging. We've covered a lot of ground, but the greatest ground yet to cover will be from our student athletes' perspective, because we're all here for them, we're all here for one another, and I'm very excited about where our future is going to go to be the most inclusive department we can possibly be, regardless of race, regardless of socioeconomic status, regardless of anything. If you're a buck, you're a buck. You're part of our family, and I've always felt that way personally, but my job is to make sure everybody feels that way, no matter what.
Watching on at this video series, seeing players, athletes, coaches, administrators share what they have, you can tell there's a lot of pain there. What state of mind has that put you in following this series, and what actions need to be taken from the athletic department? I don't think it's an easy answer. As you said, these conversations are difficult, and you said that George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, those incidents have forced us to talking about this. It's a force that needed to come up, and unfortunately it's the loss of human lives, something that is the most tragic thing that you can possibly see. What's been tragic also to see has been the pain that's been shared on this video series. When you've been watching, what have you felt?
First thing is we're talking about a 400-year-old problem that honestly is as old as the history of our planet and as old as creation. Racism, separation, differences not being fully appreciated and loved and understood. I think the first step in any situation like this has got to be listening, understanding that none of us have the answer. If we did, it would have been solved hundreds of years ago, decades ago. But this is our time now. And the biggest thing we can do is offer our effort, offer our heart. And I know that's what we've attempted to do. And this is not going to be just a flash in the pan, let's check a box kind of a situation. We're working on programming that will be annual. It will be added to. It will be something that will be interactive and continue on and on and on. And something that you wouldn't call practice, it'll become part of our culture. It'll become what we're here, what we're about here. And that's why, again, it's so important, I think, that we have the listening ear to all the voices of our department. Black, white, coaches, athletes, administrators, everybody, to gain an appreciation of who they are, where they come from, and if they feel led to share what's on their heart, like we've done with this series, we need to listen. It encourages others to understand they're not alone, and maybe encourages them to share something, whether it be painful, whether it be positive, whether it be a way to appreciate and connect with someone that they never have before. It's the greatest thing about sports. The locker room is a sacred place. The field's awesome, but the locker room and the camaraderie that's built amongst so many people from so many different walks of life, that whether you're the A player, all-star, or a contributor holding the team together, the bond that can be formed there, it's truly, truly special. And when the whistle blows and the lights come on, nothing matters but team. And we've got to utilize that to our greatest advantage. I'm thankful we're doing it now. I wish we'd done it sooner, but now's our moment, now's our time, and we're not going to let this slip through our fingers.
Some of the themes, as you've seen, that we've talked about on this series: Black Lives Matter, police brutality, leadership on this topic. One of the things that we have not talked about, mainly because these student athletes and coaches that are black do not have the benefit of privilege, is white privilege. As a white man in the highest ranking position in this athletic department, do you feel you've been the benefit of white privilege? Absolutely.
And I've really come to understand in these last few months, going back to one of your other questions, what that really means. There's been a great deal of vocabulary that I've still got a lot more to learn, no question, but feel like I've learned a great deal in listening to so many of our black student athletes, black coaches, staff members, members from around our campus community. We've got a great partnership that's developing even further with our Office of Equity and Inclusion and Dr. Keith Johnson's leadership and the role Calvin Claggett's playing within our own leadership in the athletics department. And it's been an educational venture for me. So the answer is absolutely. The fact that I'm 40 and until recently never even knew or thought about what white privilege was, or opportunities that I've had, or just worries, fears, concerns that I or my family have never had to go to bed at night worrying about or wake up in the morning worrying about, that I now understand that our black student athletes, our black coaches, it's a daily concern or a daily fear or a daily struggle that they or their families have. That's the very definition of it. So absolutely. There are points in my life that I draw back to that I've never even thought about, but have thought significantly about in the last few months, where I absolutely know that it broke a certain way or turned out a certain way because I happen to be a white person, or my family happened to be a white family. And never thought about it before. That by itself, to me, is blissful ignorance on my part. And I'm thankful to have had opportunities that I've had. I'm thankful for the opportunities that we provide for people of every race and every creed and every religion and every nationality. We've got a great melting pot of people here. But looking at my own reflection, the answer to your question is absolutely. And I will never look at events of my life the same way. I'll never look at yesterday the same, and I certainly won't look at tomorrow the same, because it's a different lens to review your own life, your own steps. And my hope is, and prayer is that my own growth and the leadership growth that we'll have as a department, from the incoming freshmen all the way through our coaching staff, to myself, to our president, to everyone, that this time is a great area for growth for all of us, and not just personal growth, but growing together. I don't want to go too deep into this question, but I know you've got others, but the last several weeks, I've had the blessing of personally going to every one of our teams. The pandemic has created a different format. We usually have a great social connection. We have an ice cream party, we give out t-shirts, we take a big family picture, and over about 60 to 90 minutes, we just have a heck of a kickoff party to get the semester started. And we have been committed to not letting the pandemic take that tradition from us. So we're doing it individually. We're going one team at a time and just sharing and talking about the expectations that we have as a family, the love that we share as a family. The difference this year is that this has been what I closed that conversation with. And for better or for worse, I don't know how all of our young people are taking it. I've had tears in my eyes. I've set my heart right in front of them. And every day, from my office and every office, we preach the commitment to graduation and championships. They're a student athlete first. The number one goal is they get a high quality, outstanding education. They take advantage of that, and they walk across that stage and hug Dr. Nolan and get their degree. And along the way, we expect to win championships. That's why they're here as an athlete, to achieve at the highest level. The only thing that's more important than that is to love each other and to appreciate each other, regardless of who they are, where they're from, what they look like, what their athletic ability is, much less what their skin color is. They're a Buccaneer. More importantly, they're a human being. And I think we've taken great steps to that, but every day is a new day, and we've got a commitment to that every day, to love one another above all else.
Fans of ETSU athletics, coaches, administrators, student athletes, what is your message to them? How can they help those that they've heard from, the Black community as a whole, those that have spoken in this video series, friends, those who they see on the street? They may be strangers, but they have empathy. They just don't know how to use it. What's your message to them on how they can help?
Have the courage to listen. I'll be honest, at the onset of some of these discussions, and even walking over here today, I said a significant prayer, just that God would give me peace and understanding and open heart, open mind, open soul. It can be a scary topic. You can worry about offending someone or saying the wrong thing or not saying enough. There used to be a great friend of mine would always say, "Hey buddy, silence is never misquoted." And there's a lot of truth to that. But if you're convicted and you feel something passionately in your heart and you see something that's not right, to have the courage to stand up for what you believe, or if nothing else, just to listen, to be there, to be an ally for someone, to say, "How can I help?" And maybe it's just a listening ear or a shoulder to cry on, or whatever the position God's put you in, to be in front of someone in that moment and not be defensive, but to be open and understanding and appreciative. I think that's where it starts. And I've said this to a lot of our student athletes, all of our student athletes. The first step is often the hardest, whether it's in competition, whether it's over the threshold into a new classroom that you're concerned about. I know I was worried about history. I was worried about my first day of two-a-days here. I was worried about the first day of the rest of your life. You don't know what it is. Most of these times, these conversations are conversations that have never been had before, between white people, between black people, between white and black people. But they are wonderful conversations because we get to see each other in our most real, genuine form. And I feel bonded with people now that I was already bonded with, but it's deeper. It's a further appreciation for me to love and appreciate them. I think they feel the same about me, but I know I do about them. And I want our student athletes to have that. They're more than athletes. They're more than students. They're human beings and people. And the number one thing we've got to teach them is to love one another, as I've said before. And I do feel like, to go back to your question, the first step can be the most difficult, but it is courageous. It starts with listening, and then it ends with action. And everybody's got a part to play in this. What we'll all find out is we're obviously so much more alike than we are different. And there's so much in our world that's pulling us apart that doesn't have to. And if we just make the effort to sit down with one another, we're coming together right there with an easy first step.
You've supported this video series. You've supported those that want to speak out, black student athletes and coaches, coming here and talking about their experiences for that, and for coming here today and talking about this very important topic. Scott, thank you so much.
Mike, thank you for your leadership in putting this together. I'll just close with this. Each of us has a role to play. My hope and prayer is that people will appreciate what we're doing here, the courage that you have taken, our student athletes and so many others are taking and sharing. But we all have a part to play, and we all make a difference. And collectively, we're going to do our part, not just now, but every year that we put on the blue and gold. We're going to do our part to be the best family we can be by being the best people we can be. And again, graduations and championships, yes, but loving one another first and foremost.